Everyone, welcome to the channel. I do apologize for the lighting, but I gotta make do for this video. So I'm just your average race fan, and today we're gonna kind of step outside the box. Now we're still gonna be talking about cars and vehicles to a certain extent, but we're gonna be traveling down to Branson, Missouri, so I'm bringing you with me. We're gonna be going through the Branson Auto and Farm Museum. Now, this museum has 2 acres of vintage cars, classic cars, hot rods, muscle cars, and it also has farm equipment, everything to the old steam engines, the big steam engines. It has steel wheel tractors on up to the rubber tire tractors with just the metal seat. So has a little bit of everything. So hopefully there's something in there that you can enjoy. And this is just a preview. If you ever get a chance to visit it, go ahead, go down there. It's $23, so not bad comparatively speaking. And like I said, you can spend a few hours in there if you want to look at everything in detail. And there are some beautiful machines in there, let me tell you. So come along, let's go through this together, and let's enjoy the scenery. So as soon as you come up to the museum, you will see a car on the left side of it, like this beautiful yellow car here. That marks the auto side. On the other side, there's a cool steam engine. That marks the farm side. Go ahead and take a look at both. Now, as you're walking around, you may see something you like. They do a lot of buying and selling. So a lot of the cars will have signs in front of them with a little price tag in the lower right-hand corner. You see something you like, you might be able to take it home. In the lobby, they have this cool toy case that has some toys, some models, some other things you can look at. The kids can go take a look at it while you're purchasing tickets. Now, in the lobby, there's also this sprint car, which is for sale, and I wanted to buy it, but I would have got in trouble. But it makes you appreciate those early racers. I mean, you either had to be a little bit of crazy or have brass balls to manhandle this thing around a dirt track, you know, out in the county somewhere. But they are pretty cool to look at. Then when you walk in, you see some of the farm equipment. And I always recommend going to places like this because it gives you an appreciation for the old farmers, what they had to work with, what they had to deal with. There are some horse-drawn stuff in here, and those are pretty cool too. But there was one wagon in particular, or one tractor in particular down here. It's this one coming up right here. It really caught my attention because I don't think I've ever seen anything like that with the wheel covers or fenders, whatever you want to call them, on the back wheel. Now, I did make sure to get a close-up of it so you can look it up and see for yourself. But you know, some of these early tractors, it's really kind of easy to forget just how it was back in the day. I mean, now you got the cabs, we got radios, GPS, air conditioning, all that stuff on the tractors nowadays. So when you see these and you imagine, you know, working with these pieces of equipment and sitting on these hot steel wheels or steel seats and having to ride all the bumps and do all this in the hot sun with no AC, man, it really gives you an appreciation, open to the element. Now we're back by a couple steam engines, and you can see one behind me right here. Now these things are pretty cool. Obviously, they're static displays here, and you can see another one over here. I got pictures, and it actually has a belt on the drive wheel. So that's pretty cool because those used to go back and run big pieces of equipment. They were dangerous. They were hot, and this wheel spun at big leather belt. So you had to be aware of your hands, your clothing, anything that could pull you in there, and you had to be aware of this belt. Also, you had to be aware of the spinning wheel on the other piece of equipment. So if you ever want to see these in action, there is actually, and it's held annually in Woolridge, Missouri, there's I think it's the Missouri River Valley Steam Engine Association. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. You'll have to Google it. But they have a steam engine show that happens every year down in Woolridge. And I've been down there a couple times, and it's actually really awesome to see these big steam engines get fired up, puffing smoke, running these big leather belts to run these big pieces of equipment. So sometimes they'll have threshers, sometimes they'll have rock crushers, sometimes they'll have just different pieces of equipment. So if you ever want to see these in action, make sure to look that up if you're in the Midwest. And if you're not in the Midwest, go ahead and Google it. There might be some steam engine associations near you where you can see these big things in action. Okay, so now that we've talked about some of the early tractors and the early farm life and the plights of the early farmers, now don't get me wrong, it would have been hot on that steam engine and it would have been hot on that tractor, but that was probably definitely a lot better than pushing a plow behind a horse or keeping it steady over that uneven terrain in the hot sun, manual labor. So yes, the steam engines were a lot of work, hot, probably miserable, but they were still better than doing it on foot or by hand. So now we've talked about that. Let's move over into the automobiles. So right over here, we got two older cars, and I believe this one is a 1913. And it's kind of incredible to think about. Now we have radios and air conditioning and air ride shocks and all this other stuff to make our ride comfortable. But back in the day, most of the time they didn't even have paved roads. So these obviously were open to the elements. You can see this one has no canopy, no windshield. So you were just open. Now back in the day when this was on the road, there wasn't too many paved roads. So at the time it was just a few brick-laid streets inside your city. Now granted, it didn't matter too much because most of the time the people that owned these were your well-off people that lived in the city or not too far from the city. So the dirt roads were still mainly horses and wagons and stuff like that, even on up past the turn of the century. But anyway, there's still no heat, there's still no air conditioning, still very bones basic. So it's incredible to see these cars and to think about just how bumpy the ride may have been, how uncomfortable the ride may have been. But to them, it was riding in luxury because you weren't riding on a horse, you weren't walking. So, pretty crazy. So now we're back by the cars. We're going to start out with some of these hot rods. And there are some beautiful cars back here. Now, like I said, a lot of the stuff is for sale. And this black Plymouth right here, oh my gosh, this is another one that I really wanted to walk away with. But I'd have probably been sleeping in it for a while. So, but it was a beautiful car. It doesn't matter if you're a Mopar fan or you're brand specific, Dodge, Chevy, Pontiac, Ford. It doesn't matter. There is something in here for everyone to enjoy. They've got cars, they've got trucks, they've got hot rods, they've got your old grocery getters. I mean, there's some movie cars in here that you'll see coming up. There really is something for everyone to enjoy, whether you are a farm enthusiast or an auto enthusiast. It really was a great museum. I really wish I could have used some of my footage from inside the car place a lot more, but unfortunately the speakers were louder in some places versus others. So, with the copyrighted music, there was just some footage I couldn't clean up enough. And maybe it's my editing skills, that's probably what it is. So, but there is some beautiful cars in here, and they speak for themselves. some more classic hot rods. I mean, what can you say about these? These coupes were just amazing. As you can see, they're very popular with hot rods, hot rodders. You see a lot of these out and about, and they are very, very beautiful cars. Now here you've got the Smokey and the Bandit collection. That's the black Trans Am. That's Sheriff Buford T. Justice. That's his car. The one in pristine condition. And they have the one that finished the movie with the back door in the seat. Put that in the car. That is evidence. I mean, what a classic movie. They even have the Georgia State Patrol car, the one that they were in the chase with, that they ended up rear-ending on the bridge. And the Cadillac that was at the end of the movie that the Bandit got away in. So, very great collection. Obviously, there's a lot of beautiful cars in this museum, but since I am a Mopar guy, this might have to be the most beautiful corner of this museum. Oh man, it's just, look at those beauties. Everyone, thanks for joining me on that tour of the Branson Auto and Farm Museum. Now, I know Branson is known for its shows, theater, theme parks, stuff like that. But it has some really great museums as well. Normally it would take you a few hours to go through if you want to look at everything in detail. There is a lot of stuff. They have plaques on everything that you could read, so well worth the trip. And as I always say, be safe, be courteous. It's the experience that matters, so make it a good one.